And number one, the first thing, hata kama ulipata first class, ama even if you think you are a good communicator out there, please prepare. Success is where preparation meets opportunity. Good morning. Avoidable mistakes costing young people job opportunities. I've been wanting to cover this topic for a long time now. And I'll start with a story. In the year 2010, about 2009, 2008 or 2010 or thereabout, I left college. I had graduated. I had tarmacked for like 6 months. When I left college, I remember clearly one of those people who were, I passed my exams. I actually graduated with a first class honors then. So I had this mindset, and for a long time, since my primary, my high schooling, and all that kind of stuff, I knew I could read, I could pass, and I could go anywhere I want, until I started looking for jobs. I always thought that because I was bright, I knew what to do, I would get jobs instantly. Shock on me. I tarmacked for 6 months, and when I started applying for jobs, especially the big organizations, I remember there was the big 5 for auditing firms. They recruit every single year. They look for the best. The scholarships and many other things. When I started applying, I was invited because of my good grades. But unfortunately, for 4 interview opportunities, I never got any job. I wondered why, and this depressed me. It was a hard time understanding and trying to dig deeper on why I was not getting these jobs. I remember I went to Deloitte. I did 2 interviews, KPMG, I did 1 in PwC, I did an interview in KCB. I did 1 for Safaricom. I failed all of them until I went back and I tried to reason out and understand why I was failing. And of course, I met someone who was able to advise me, and that's how I started getting interviews and getting jobs. I remember once I learned what was happening, which was very simple, preparation. There's a time I got 2 jobs at the same time. I had to decide which one to pick, because now I had learned how to do interviews. Very simple. These are some of the things no one will ever tell you. It doesn't matter whether you got a first class like me, whether you got an airplane, whether you got a B or a C. It matters how you approach things. That is about preparation. That's what we are talking about today. We would like you guys to avoid some of these mistakes. I would like to welcome you to this channel once again. I know you are a subscriber, and you have not subscribed, please don't forget to click down there and click that ring button, so that every time you have this kind of a conversation, you are able to be informed. This channel is about entrepreneurship, is about careers, it's also about investment. This guy is about life. And we talk so much to young people because I believe if you are able to learn from me, you don't need to make the same mistakes that I did after doing 5 interviews. You don't need to fail the same way. You can learn from us, you can learn from this channel and move very fast. Some of the things that have taken me 5 years, it can take you a few weeks to be able to do the same and move much more faster. I have a guest interviewer today. He's not new to this channel. I think you have seen him 2 or 3 times. His name is Reuben. He's going to be helping in this conversation. I know he has questions. He's a young, achieving person. I told him he's living way ahead of his time. This is a guy who is moving places, and he's going to be the person helping us with this conversation today. We hope you guys, especially if you are watching us today, we hope you'll pick something. I keep saying this. I hope you'll pick something that you can start running with starting tomorrow. In this channel, before I forget, I believe in getting things done, especially as a person. Whether it's in your life, whether it's in your career, your business, whether it is in your relationships, I believe in getting things done. And that's the theme of all this show, all these things I do. I believe if you are able to action things, we can move our lives forward. That of the country, that of our communities, and I think this is the time to start talking. Let me give some statistics. I know he'll introduce himself. It's a survey that was done by people who are called resume builders. They revealed that 20% of the managers said they would like to hire people who are called Generation Z. But before I do that, I know you want to know who these generations are all about. I'll move very fast because of time to explain these different generations. This number one is the greatest generation born between 1901 to 1924. There's a silent generation born between 1928 to 1945. People who are called baby boomers, so popular in the West, between 1946 and 1964. Generation Jones. This is so unique, I've not heard about it so much. Born between 1955 to 1965. Generation X, born between 1965 to 1980. Generation, this is millennials, and that's where I am now. Born between 1981 and 1996. Then we have Generation Z, I think that's where he belongs. Born between 1997 to 2010, and finally, Generation Alpha. If you are born after 2011, you are Generation Alpha. Some more data. A survey was also taken by people who are calling them air tasker. Reasons why people are fired or why people don't get jobs. Number one, attitude issues at 57%, personality issues at 41%. At 40%, we have people who don't complete their assigned duties. At 31%, we have people who violate company policy. At that 4%, we have poor attendance. 23% ask for a raise. 20% stealing. Corruption is very common in our country. And lastly, 18% for being late at work. Number one is because of attitude. There are so many reasons. That's what we are going to handle today, just to give you a background of what is happening. And this is a topic I'm passionate about, because one of the things that happened when I became the CEO of Username many years ago, almost 10 now, it was a young company. I also became the head of human resources, a position that I have held for many years. So I have interviewed virtually anyone who have joined this organization, and I can tell you so many things, my friend. There are so many people I have seen with a lot of opportunity. They come for the interview and they bango it. Then you look at them and you feel for them. These are young people. Today we want to tell you some of those things I've learned, and I'll tell you how to ensure the next time you go for an interview or you get a job, you either get a pay, a promotion, or you get that job against all odds. Welcome, Benehin. He's going to be helping in this conversation, and I think he might also be interested to understand some of these experiences that we have that can be able to help young people out there.
Thank you so much, sir. Actually, for me, it's an opportunity to learn together as we get even to, build the conversation. I had a conversation one day, a CEO was saying that there's a lady who went with a certificate that had oil. It was smelling chips. And she asked the lady what's wrong, and the lady said that the pastor gave her anointing oil to take the CV with the anointing oil. And she asked the lady, here we test competence. We don't, and the guy who actually was saying that is a pastor, but he's a CEO, and he said, when you get into the marketplace, we can't start playing the religion cards. It's about competence. And so the lady came with a certificate smelling chips. The spiritual father had given her and said, and a nice certificate, you'll get a job. And maybe even to start with that, I'll just ask you a question. As a CEO, especially, I know you're leading a very young team. I've seen your company. You've employed mostly young people. I'll ask you a question. Where do you draw the line between competence na the fact that mazee unahurumia huyu msee, unajua maybe endo firstborn kwao, na ametoka tu campus na vitu ziko fiti home? Where do you draw the line between competence and now saying, let me just give this guy a job? Have you ever given someone a job because of pity? Maybe you can begin with that.
Okay, thank you so much. I have people, and I think our second employee was a family member, actually, is my cousin. He actually was here for some time. And when we started hiring at the very beginning, I remember we we never advertise for position. We used to use what we know. Referral, what people call referral. But you're asking whether we have given people jobs because of kuwahurumia. I've had this thing, especially out there in the streets. Mtu anakupigia, somebody calls you and they are telling you, especially parents. I have a young man here, he has been staying in the house, he doesn't have somewhere to get a job, ameumia sana. There are people who will also use the card for suffering, is a single mother, nini, all those things. We don't test those things. Unfortunately, I have to disappoint you today. Even if somebody was to respond and they are a serious business person, even in the corporate space, they will not tell you. They are not testing whether you have had so many problems in the streets.
Yes, sir.
These people are testing your competence, like you have said. They are testing where you can get the job done. Can you get the job closed? Do you have the right attitude? Can you work with people? If I bring you in username, will you become a burden or will you become a blessing? Yes? You have to think about that. Can you pay yourself? Because when you come here, even the salary you are being paid to give value.
Yes,
in other places like Japan, they are getting a robot, right?
Yes.
To do the same thing a human can do. We don't want to do. It's about what output you can give. And you have to be a bit selfish. If you are to look at an employer from that perspective, just know, if I was the one running that business, would I give a job to someone because he's a brother, he's a sister? Because they'll come and go down with you. So as we have been hiring, I've learned so many things, and I would like to share some of the things as we start.
Yes,
some of the mistakes I believe people are making, because that's the topic for today.
Yes,
people are wondering, what are these things? Let me tell you, I've been in interviews. Of course, like I said, I failed 4 interviews, and then I started passing all of them. I got 2 jobs, one with Safaricom, another one is CBA. The one CBA was paying more than Safaricom, but I really wanted to pursue a career in that line. So I chose that one, and of course, I even got better. But I have also interviewed on my personal capacity. Anyone who has joined this organization, apart from a few years ago when we have a big team and they are interviewing the other people. And I can tell you, there are so many things. And number one, the first thing, hata kama ulipata first class, even if you think you are a good communicator out there, please prepare. Success is where preparation meets opportunity, or the other way round. You need to prepare. Number one, these are very basic things. And there are people who are teaching people out there. You do a master class, a very short course. You go to YouTube, you'll find people teaching you how to pass interviews. Let me tell you, when I learned what was ailing me those many years ago, it was about preparation. I was told the same way you study in school, just before exam, because that's what you used to do. You used to cram those things. Especially there was a topic that was called operating system, just to digress. For those who do computers, there is a topic called operating system. It has 1, it has 2. There are so many concepts you can't just, it is very hard to understand. So people used to cram. So we used to do that. And the day before, I remember, I used to sleep almost at midnight. Because I had to read all the notes. That's how we passed the exam. I was told by someone, that is exactly the same technique you must use to be able to pass future interviews. And that's exactly what I did. Remember when I got, in Safaricom, we did 4 interviews. They were so different. A span of a period of like 3 months. I used to prepare every time, and I passed all of them. Remember the last one, because it was key. I actually slept at midnight. I had a friend we were staying with that time, and they wondered what I was doing. I had this big book where I had written all the questions that can be asked in an interview and the answers I'm going to have. And I repeated that thing to an extent when I went to the interview. I remember the interviewing manager, because it was a management trainee program. Yes, they told me, I think you have done this thing for a long time, because any question they were shooting, I already had an answer. And of course, it was coming from the mind. It doesn't look like it was rehearsed. That's how I got the job. So guys, number one is preparation. And preparation is very simple, because people have come to username. Just know about the organization that you're going to. Even if you are dating, people ask about questions. You are trying to know how the other person is, their character, their temperament, their history. Before you come to username, And any other interview that you are going, prepare. Learn about that organization. You can learn about their products. That's feel basic. What are they selling? What problems do they have? And some of these things are available online, and you can do that. You can learn about their management. You can learn about their revenues, how it has been flowing, and also understand a few things about the sector. Like, for example, I can ask you something about title deed. You have to have those basics.
Yes, sir.
Do you know the course you did, those who did math, they did something called calculus, is more difficult. Those who have done CPAs, that is more difficult than just taking a day or two to learn about interviews. Preparation is key. Number two, people have entitlement, and we handled that in the other conversation. Yes. Especially young people. I feel like I have brothers, I have sisters, I have cousins, and this is a widespread pandemic, if I may say so. People think that because I have a big brother, I have an uncle somewhere, I don't need to work hard. I can just call and they give me a job. That is a very wrong attitude. There are also those who think because I'm so and so, I'll be able to get a job. I had that entitlement myself because I thought because I was bright, I'll be able to just get any job. Please, my friend, avoid entitlement. Just work very hard. Just know that somebody who got a C, hata ukiwa na A-, can defeat you because they prepared, they are not entitled, and they are doing everything. And that's why you find there are very many successful people who never pass their exam. Why? Those people are not entitled. They know for you to be able to succeed, you have to do everything that needs to be done for you to succeed.
Yes, sir.
There are so many others. I think I have like 5, but let's go on with the conversation because of time.
Maybe you can ask another question. Because currently when I look at our generation, I saw Google had to change their ethics, even in terms of dressing. And they told guys, you want to come with shorts at work, come with shorts. You want to come with sneakers, and even sometimes I come and I just find you chill with sneakers. Maybe those are some of the changes that have happened. Now, do you think changes like in terms of people, dressing up, like hair and all that, do you think it affects competence in any way, or you're focusing on the person and, like, do you think you as a CEO, according to your experience with our generation, are there some of the things you've lessened, you've had to say, like, for the purpose of achieving targets, you just come the way you are, but make sure you achieve targets? Do you think you've been in that place?
I would like to explain that because I know it affects many people.
Yes.
You need to be very wise. If you come to username investment, you find some few people with dreadlocks. Like right now, I'm clad like someone who is not going to work. Today is a Friday, we do casual smart and we allow everyone to do that. Yes. But my friend, when you are doing an interview, this conversation is different. Yes. That's where wisdom comes in. Yes. When you get a job, now you can wear like this on Fridays, we allow you. And someone told me, I went to Naivasha, and it's good to listen to this kind of video, and if you have not subscribed, please subscribe and share with your friends. It's always good to listen to this. I went to Naivasha once, and they were the speaker was Bitangen Demo, and he was saying, unless don't wear like Drogba, don't have dreadlocks like Drogba, and you are going for an interview the following week. The people who are dreadlocks in Nini, unfortunately, my friend, the hiring managers are not in your generation, right? Yes, you know the generation Z has changed. Yes. The hiring managers might be millennials or not the other generation. They don't understand that, and they are the one making decisions about your life. As a smart person, I would shave those things. Once you get your job, you start growing them again. Not that, let me tell you, your hairstyle, your shoe, they don't affect your competence. Your intelligence is still inbuilt, what God gave you. But in terms of perception, because this world is not about what people think, that's why you find some people who, and I refuse that myself, there are people who really pass their exam, but they don't succeed in life because they are entitled. Because the world does not work like that. You need to be very wise, to be flexible, to be open-minded, and learn what works in a real world. What works in an interview setting, you are meeting people who don't understand you, and they are judging based on your look, your clothing, the way you speak. They have never met you. Yes, sir. The moment one person in the interviewing panel get you with a dreadlock, there are those few who would understand, yes, but majority are in another generation. So as a wise person, you have to be very wise. You have to be someone who is willing to change a few things to be able to get that job fast. Yes, sir. and I have to tell you this. Once you'll find billionaires, you have Akina Drogba who have dreadlocks, who are very successful, doing all manner of things the way they wish. And yes, you're in that level, Akina Chris Kirubi, may his soul rest in peace. You'll find them doing all manner of things, and you think as a young person you can do the same. Do them when you are a billionaire, not before. Because the kind of people you'll meet, they'll judge you based on the level they are in. And that is wisdom. Even in business, we customize based on the customer's need. It's not about what Reubens want. It is about what the customer wants. So that is very important. Be wise. Just customize yourself to first get the job. Once you get the job, you learn the culture of the organization, like the way Google, and you have freedom.
Yes, maybe.
And I'll not take, let me say this. I remember I had to invest in a suit when I was doing those interviews. So that's one of the advice I received. I had to invest in a good suit. And I remember in the third interview in Safaricom, it was a group discussion. You are put like, we were like how many people? Like 9 or 10 people in a round table. Then the HR guy is there. Then you find a piece of paper. They are not telling you anything. Now it is upon you. You have just met those guys. I was the only guy with a suit. What happened? I was chosen as the secretary to present the findings of the group because there were questions. That gave me an opportunity to present myself, yes, which another person would not have gotten. And I feel like that's what made me get the job in, yes, the first place. Yes. Very simple techniques. Just be very wise. I think you are asking a question and our time, yes, is moving very fast.
Yes, maybe before I go to the last question, what is your advice for now the people who are working, in terms of promotions? I've been seeing statistics are saying that before people used to think they will be promoted because they're reporting to work on time, because they are achieving targets. But I think currently where the world is going, things have changed a little bit. You'll find people are not being promoted just because of being at work on time. The basic things like being quote unquote. You see, remember in school the teacher's pet, ule jamana collect vitabu or class mapema. Like currently the things are switching a little bit. Maybe you can just tell us the 2 key things that you look at even when people are being promoted, apart from the normal things, people coming on time and hitting the targets. What is the 2 things that really stand out? And then you can also give us the final advice for the working youth.
Thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
I think I have so much to say, and I feel like we are limited by time. Maybe we might revisit this topic. Number 1, every time you go for an interview, adverts,
yes, sir,
whether you go to Brighter Monday, yes, I think that's why you post most of these things, and some other website, even in our website. The first statement, they'll tell you that we want a self-driven person. That's about work ethic. We want someone, and I'll tell you for a fact, once you join this organization, if you ask me, this one started become, I can't tell you. I can't even tell you whether they got second lower. I don't know those details. What I know, this person delivers. What I know, they have the right attitude, they have the right work ethic. So the first thing we check is drive, self-drive. Are you proactive? Can you manage yourself? Can you leave you do some job and I don't need to keep calling you?
Yes, sir.
Do you have that? And it is something very hard to train. So we specify that because I learned, even in myself, some of the things I'm able to do. Even my parents, I used to change job, they don't know. Because I used to keep looking, and I realized that skill is so important, even in life. If you are self-driven, my friend, you'll go to oceans no one has ever discovered. You have to remember that. Number 2, which is related to number 1, is attitude. And of course, most people are fired because of attitude. We have fired even people who are very good. Somebody who really passed their exam because of attitude. You come here, you don't want no one to speak to you, to tell you the truth. You are failing, you are not passing, you are so defensive, you don't want to listen. Even when you are working with colleagues, people who are arrogant, you don't share information. If you are approached by someone, you don't cooperate. No teamwork, nothing. So you'll find that those people are not even teachable because they have blocked themselves. They are not willing to speak out. They are not willing to be advised. There are people who can't advise, by the way. And that is a character flaw. That's something that they need to work on. And they'll keep failing until they learn that very hard lesson. Number 1 is self-drive. Number 2 is attitude. Number 3 is work ethic. I think there's quite a number before we even talk about certificates, right? Yes. As long as you are a graduate, you get into the dance floor, into the interview room. Once you get there and we start checking. And the last thing is about communication skill. Are you able to talk to people? And young people, especially Generation Z, most people want to work with you because you get things done. You are so creative. You are not afraid of authority. We come from a generation of our parents where you have to really respect the elders. I think this generation has changed, where they are even willing. You'll find someone speaking to the CEO the way they speak to, which is a good and a bad thing. Yes. Wisdom is required. Yes, there are situations where you can speak like that, confidence, and we like that. But at the same time, you really need to be very careful to draw the line and be very wise and know how to communicate. In the last video, I talked about you have to know how to communicate to people of all ages with a lot of respect. People who are younger than you, more important, people who are older than you, because some of them will determine your fate, whether you'll be promoted, whether you'll get another job. They will determine. You need to know how to interact with them with wisdom. When you are playing around in WhatsApp with your friends and out there, it's okay, you can use any word, but you don't do the same with. Not everyone understands Generation Z. For me, that is very important. But I also, I know we have past time, but I want to say this. The other things that make people miss job opportunities, not just the two that I shared. And I felt it is very important. This one is very key, social media. If you are applying for US visa right now, they ask for your social media handles. You have to key in them there. Maybe there's something you posted. And there are examples out there. People who there's a guy I think who did not get a visa because there's something he posted long time ago. But he never thought about it. Akapost na akasahau. These people who check and they have softwares which are very intelligent, they can be able to draw based on keyword. Yes, sir. They were able to draw that and the guy never got a visa. There are also people, and we do that, I will not lie, by the way, if you are watching me today, HR has changed. These days they even check your social media channel, and there's a guy we never gave a job, a senior job. It was a finance manager's job. He was number one. We do 3 interviews. He was number one in all interviews until we said with my director, let's just meet this person in a restaurant somewhere because you are feeling there's something we don't know. So when we went, we started saying something and then a thought came to mind. Can we check his social media channels? And we went to Facebook. So we found he was working somewhere else. It was a side hustle. We just wanted to know whether he speak the truth. If you are working out there, as long as you declare, there's no problem. He lied until I remember a director, we usually laugh. He took his laptop, akaipindua, then he faced him. Is it you? Akasema yes. He got so shocked. That moment we realized we already don't have a candidate. My guy, if you are posting something in Facebook, enjoy yourself. You have to live life. I'm also in Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and listen to the threads. If you are posting something, avoid. There are very simple things to avoid. Number one, avoid using abusive language. There are those people who abuse others. Also, avoid topics that are extremely controversial. They don't bring people together. Instead, they bring people apart. Yes. Avoid those very controversial topics that people would not. We talked about wisdom from the very beginning. Avoid those. Also avoid, especially this is for ladies, there are photos you should not post there. And then people I know they don't care at the moment, but one day that is what will bite you. You can actually be able to post things with decency, because especially if you are a billionaire, you can actually walk shirtless, you can do all those. If you are Drogba, you can do anything. But my friend, if you are looking for a job, if you are in a position where you are looking for something, even including promotions, you have to really be wise. Know what is required in that environment to succeed. I may not be able to tell you everything today. Know what is required in that environment to succeed and do exactly that. When you go outside the door, go and live your life. But when you come here in username, there are values that are very, very important for people to be able to understand. I would advise young people as my last thing. My friend, be very wise. Number 2, be someone who seeks knowledge. And the last thing, because that's why I was failing, you need to be someone who prepares for things. even this interview you had to prepare. Anything you do out there, don't take things for granted. Be someone who is very deliberate, very intentional, someone who seeks knowledge. And I believe, even as you look for those who are looking for jobs because jobs are not easily available, you will be one of the few people, 10 people will be taken for interviews because of taking in such advice. Other people who are looking for promotion and salary increases and all that, growing their career, I may not have all the information now, but I can tell you to go seek out that information wherever it can be found and try to implement. You'll be the 20% of people who are willing to do everything possible, and this is drive, everything possible to be able to grow in their life, in their career, even those who are in business. So much to speak about today, and thank you so much for even coming for this interview. I don't know whether you have anything else that maybe you'd like to say. Yes.
Yes, for the 5 things you said, he said number 1, work ethics. Number 2, he said attitude. Number 3, he's also said about communication skills. Number 4, he said about being open-minded to learn. And then number 5, he's also talked about social media. Let me just repeat so that you can take this as a takeaway. 1, work ethic. 2, he said attitude. 3, he said social media. 4, communication skills. And number 5, about being open-minded to get opportunities and to learn. Thank you so much for joining us. This one was a good one for Gen Z and Gen Alpha. Andika hizo notes budo zieke mahali, ukienda date na demu yako, share naye pia learn. God bless.